Oh, jeez, unbuckle. Hey, I'm stuck in a car, so why not do a tag video? I haven't done one of those in a while. I learned about this one from, of course, Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, and it is the Reader's Profile Tag by Hillary B. Green of Book Bustle fame. We're all of fame here. So yeah, let's go into the questions, which are kind of an introduction to YouTube questions, but also maybe just hey, this is who I am kind of questions, which we all like. Number one, what for you makes a good book? And I mean, I think like a lot of people, I'm definitely there for good, engaging characters, good writing, good setting, good mood, all that sort of stuff. I mean, I think probably a really good characters that I can engage with and I can connect with on a kind of that level is probably what makes a really kind of good book for me. If it's just amazing writing on its own, that isn't going to do it for me. Number two, what are you currently reading? I'm at the moment currently reading two books. One of is Dreyer's English, which is a what is it a book on just on kind of writing done by the a former copy editor of Random House, and I actually enjoy this one uh, because I read a good couple of years ago Eats, Shoots and Leaves, but I found the tone of that one kind of scolding, kind of pedantic in a way, just like, okay, this is what makes writing not fun for a lot of people. Whereas Dreyer is very much more, yeah, I have to look this stuff up. Yeah, this is stuff I always get wrong myself. A little bit more of a like, what I would consider a human kind of approach to writing. Like, we make mistakes, we do repetitions. I mean, obviously, he is coming from someone who has that knack of being able to spot things. I think a lot of that stuff flies by me very quickly. I know with my own writing, I have to read my stuff out loud to try and get some of the errors that I've made. That's the best way that I can just self-edit myself, and it's probably something like with doctors of a doctor shouldn't try and heal themselves, and a writer shouldn't try and edit themselves, at least not to that extent. What else am I? Oh, and I'm also reading at the moment Rudyard Kipling, Life's Handicap, which is a like 1890 something collection of short stories, all based around in the world of India. Him being a Indian English author born in India, and it's a really challenging book because Kipling is a certain kind of type of man of his time, very much of the empire, very much of white supremacy. When you get down to it, white supremacy, and not really fucking kind of a mean writer. These stories are really kind of grinding me down in a way, which but it's really valuable. I am really diving into this period from like 1890 to 1910. And there's a lot of Kipling in there. I will maybe next Kipling I do will be maybe more genre-y, because I find that once if he's in a genre, it's like if it's horror, if it's adventure, there's a little less of the overt racism which comes in as more literary stories, which I'm really finding difficult. I'm really finding difficult. I am finding it, however, very educational. I think to just reject works from a period of time because they have attitudes that you deeply disagree with, it's does a disservice to you're papering over what my parents were English and Scottish. I live in a country that is a result of English colonialism. So it behooves me to kind of look at this stuff straight in the face. And I find with Kipling, you're really looking at straight in the face. He is a good writer. but he's also just some really horrible stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment. Number 3, what's the last book you didn't finish and why? I was trying to think about this. It's probably Sapiens by some dude. God, nonfiction book, which I think I found really. I was reading an audiobook and it was just like, this guy's just spitting bullshit. It didn't feel like it was talking about ancient man, like ancient, like we're prehistoric man, like he knew what they were thinking. And it was just like, okay, my bullshit meter went off, and I just like, I'm not going to take this in anymore. It's just utter nonsense. So I think that is the last book, and that was the nonfiction book. Fiction book, it might have been like The Sympathizer, which I just didn't click with, and I got bored with. It was a slog, so I put it down. I just didn't go with me, and there's plenty of books to continue with. 4. What obscure book do you wish that other people would read? Well, the latest obscure book that I read, also part of my 1901 project, was The Heart of the Ancient Woods, which was published in 1897 by Canadian Charles Roberts. There's a couple initials in there too, which I half wish people would share my pain in reading, because I did a whole review on that, but I just found that a deeply unintentionally evil book. Like, I honestly don't think the author thought out the implications of what the hell they were doing, or maybe I was looking at it the wrong way. But there's some books just like, what the hell, and you want to have people around who can also go, what the hell? And there isn't anybody. Well, there might be, but maybe they just don't want to talk to me because they thought it was a whimsical fairy tale. Number 5, what's the longest book that you've ever read? That would be In Search of Lost Time, or whatever the actual French is, by Marcel Proust. It's 7 books, but really that's 7 volumes in one giant book. So, and that took me like a year and a half to read, with many other books interspersed in it. Number 6 is the dinner party question of like, what 5 fictional characters you'd want to have dinner with, which I don't think I have them. I don't think I have them. I don't think I have those. So I'm going to skip that. Number 7, 5 books that you'd want if you were stranded on a desert island. I think like Kelly, probably Shakespeare would be in there. That would be kind of the higher reading. Probably Don Quixote, because it's got multitudes of so much in there. She had Betsy Tazy for her light reading. For me, that would probably, my comfort reading was probably, at least it had been for a long time, was Douglas Adams. His Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy series. That, basically all of Douglas Adams books are like really thin, so I just like all of those, all the Douglas Adams books, because I've read them multiple times. I haven't read them since then in time. Someone was talking about books that they wouldn't want to read and they just didn't jibe. And I do wonder if, especially the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books, are kind of dated. Like they are more kind of 80s, 90s books. Like, it's a nostalgia thing for me. I don't necessarily have to push it on anyone else. It's definitely a comfort read for me. Yeah, and what the hell else? Christian Lavensdatter. You can pick all your favorite books. It's just like whatever I feel like at the moment. It's all fiction at the moment. Is there a non-fiction book that I would take with me to a desert island? Probably not. Yeah. Strangely enough, maybe Dante's Inferno, just to freaking try and puzzle that sucker out. Of course, then I have to figure out what translation, or maybe and you have to have your kind of like, I'd probably take Tolstoy's War and Peace, because I haven't read it yet, so at least I'd have something new, and it would take me take me a little while to read that, and hopefully I would get rescued before I starve to death, because I would starve to death on a desert island, especially if I was reading all the time. Number 8, one book that you could not put down. And I was thinking about that question because I think there's only one book that I have a recollection like of a novel that I just read from cover to cover in like one sitting. I think I've only, because I'm a very slow reader. Usually I break things up so I can put down the book. But the book that that I had the time and that I actually just, nope, I just sat down and I just read that sucker all the way through, was, I think I was taking the ferry either from Vancouver to Vancouver Island or the other way around, and I sat down in the bus. Probably I was coming home at that point. Was living in Vancouver. Was Disgrace by Coetzee, J.M. Coetzee. I'm probably saying all of that wrong. That was a book that I sat in the bus and I read that whole thing. I read the entire book in one sitting. So that was the book that I literally could not put down. And yeah, a book about a fellow who had assaulted someone, and he was a university professor, and he had assaulted someone and was disgraced. He was disgraced, and it was coming back from that. Him coming back, him having to realize exactly what he'd done, because at the beginning of the book he didn't even accept that he had actually assaulted somebody. So it wasn't like one of these books of like, oh, he got blamed for something he didn't do. It's just oversensitive. It's like, no, by the end he'd realized what he'd done and that what he'd done was wrong, and he'd actually morally had to kind of come to the consequences of that. Oh God, I think he ended up in like it was like working for a woman in an animal shelter, and it was like putting dogs down, and stuff like that. It was, yeah, that would be the book, which obviously I still carry it in my mind. That would be a good one to reread, actually, with where we've come in our culture, where it's so much more, a male author would be far more just like, fuck you. Fuck all these women who want to tell me what to do. It's like, no, this is a guy who has to morally come to some kind of realizations about himself and his actions, and also kind of atoning for it. Yeah. Number 9, 5 books or authors you would never read. So I mean, it's funny because there's certain authors like, oh God, now I can't even remember the Jonathan Safran Foer, and his 9/11 book, incredibly loud and extremely close. I really hated that book, and it's like you would think, oh, I'm never gonna read anything ever by him again. But I read a nonfiction book of his on vegetarianism, or like, kind of on the meat industry, which actually was a really good book. So there's a case of somebody that it's like, well, I read one book of theirs and I hated it, but it's like, well, I actually did try them again, and I did like their book. So it's hard to say never. I mean, I think there's a couple of when I was growing up, I really loved Robert A. Heinlein, a science fiction author, big science fiction author. And there's definitely a couple of his books which are 1-star books for me that I hate, but there's other books of his I would read. Maybe those books in particular, like Glory Road, his attempt, kind of quasi attempt at fantasy. I don't think I would ever read that book again. So there's a book that I would never read again. I don't know. I mean, there's stuff like I am never probably going to read J.K. Rowling. I've read all of her Harry Potter books, but I'm probably never going to read another book by her again, just because of how reprehensible I feel like she's been using her power and wealth to go after a small minority group that are simply trying to live their lives. And you know, whatever her background, whatever her pain, but she's causing a lot more pain. She's like directly, and I mean that in the sense of like, it's not that she's saying bad word, she's writing negative thoughts about them, but she's actively lobbying the UK government, which is not that great for trans people already. She's actively lobbying them to strip away rights and medical stuff for people who really need that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that's that. And if you were to write a book, what would you write about? Well, NaNoWriMo would be coming up, but I'm not doing that, so I'm probably going to do a different thing instead of NaNoWriMo. I'm probably just going to write for myself for the month of November, and I guess I'll find out what that story is. Now, Ja is back, so I am going to stop this video. That was a cameo by Ja's hand. Oh, there's Ja's hand again. Whoa! Spooky October! All right, more videos later.